right, so it was about 6 years ago. I was married to my husband. We had a beautiful 5-year-old daughter, and all she wanted was a sibling. So we said, all right, we'll have one more child, and our family will be complete. So I finally get pregnant, and we go to that doctor's appointment, that first one where you go to check to see if what's on that stick is actually true, and of course that the baby is doing okay. So we're sitting in the doctor's office, and my husband Joe, he's with me, and the doctor's doing the sonogram, and he's taking a little bit longer than normal. We're looking at the screen as if we know what we're looking at, but we really don't at this point in the game. And he turns and says, "Oh, there's two." And I said, "There's two what?" He goes, "There's two babies. You're having twins." And I look over at Joe, and his face is white as a ghost. And he says, "Doc, you're joking, right?" And he goes, "No, sir, we don't joke about twins." And so from that moment on, our lives had changed forever. Obviously not what we'd expected. We were expecting one, and we got two. So we came to the realization, all right, let's just start preparing. So we're preparing the nursery. You get double the cribs, double the wipes, the diapers, the pacifiers, bottles, car seats. I mean, it's incredible how much stuff you need when you have twins. And so the pregnancy goes on, and I'm eating a lot and growing very fast, and my emotions are all over the place. But for the most part, the pregnancy is going as normal, as it should, until one night at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm awoken suddenly. And I knew something wasn't right. It was dark, but it felt like a bucket of water had just been poured all over my legs. So I get up, I rush to the bathroom, I turn the light on, and sure enough, my legs are red. I had been bleeding. So I frantically clean myself up, I go over to Joe and I say, "Babe, we gotta go to the hospital immediately. I don't know what's going on, I'm bleeding, something is not right." Meanwhile, my 5-year-old is peacefully sleeping in the room next door. So as to not wake her, I said, "Let's call our neighbor, maybe she'll answer." And I did, and she answered, and was able to come over and stay at our house until my parents arrived. So Joe and I rush to the hospital, we go to Inova, they check me into the women's center, they're checking my vitals, they're strapping my belly up, and all I could think about was, I want to hear those 2 heartbeats. And so they're checking, she's checking my stomach, and you hear 1 heartbeat. And then she goes to the other side, and you hear 2 heartbeats. I'm going, okay, I'm okay, the babies are okay, everything's fine. But of course, the doctor wanted to do some more tests and kind of see, what that was all about. So they take me upstairs, I get my own room, and we're just sort of hanging out, and about an hour later, it happens again. The doctor rushes in, they stabilize me, and they say, "All right, look, you're gonna stay here for another 7 to 10 days. Because we just wanna monitor you, make sure that you're okay, the babies are okay, and that you're where you need to be." And I'm going, 7 to 10 days? I can't stay here for 7 days. I've got a 5-year-old at home, she's got school, activities, I work full-time, Joe works full-time. How are we gonna do this? But just like anything else, you figure it out. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be in this room for another week, so let's get comfortable. So I call my family, I call our friends, and just let them know, look, we're gonna be in the hospital for about a week. Everything's okay, but they just wanna monitor me, so we'll be here. So Joe goes downstairs, he goes to get a snack. I'm just sort of watching TV. The heartbeats are kind of beating in the background. And it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon at this point, and it happens a 3rd time. But this time, I knew something wasn't right. So I start to feel dizzy, I lose focus, things are starting to blur. I somehow managed to text Joe and say, "You need to come upstairs immediately." And then the next thing I know, it is just complete chaos. I mean, nurses and doctors are rushing in and out, and they are taking things from my bed and whatnot. And all I can remember is the nurse coming over to me and saying, "Well, Mama, looks like you're having these babies today." And I said, "I'm only 26 weeks pregnant. I can't have these babies today." And all I could think about was, they're not even fully developed yet. They're probably the size of a Barbie doll, and they can't even breathe on their own. Like, this can't be happening. The next thing I know, I'm being rushed off to the emergency room for an emergency C-section, and they are toying with me like a rag doll, and they're giving me a blood transfusion, they're flipping me over, giving me a spinal tap, and within minutes, they are cutting me open, and my babies are out. There were no cries. I didn't get to see them. I didn't even get to hold them. They were immediately taken to their incubators, hooked up to tubes and wires and masks, and rushed up to the neonatal intensive care unit. My husband, Joe, goes and follows behind them, and I am taken alone to my recovery room. My twins spent about 4.5 months in the NICU, and our lives had just become this revolving door between the hospital and home, and hospital and home. And nothing else mattered except being at their bedsides and making sure the life of our 5-year-old stayed as normal as possible, because she had a ton of questions and was very confused. So the twins had multiple setbacks and complications, but for the most part, their goals were the same. They needed to learn how to breathe on their own without oxygen. They needed to learn how to drink milk from a bottle without a feeding tube. They needed to grow so they could gain weight and fully develop. They needed to make sure they didn't catch an infection, and they needed to pass all the routine tests that they took every single day. And those twins, they fought and they fought and they fought. And they came home by the grace of God and lots of prayer and those incredible nurses and doctors with 0 complications. And so, I tell you this story because, well, now they're 5 and they're doing all sorts of activities like soccer and dance, and my daughter sings, and my son is already doing math and loves to play chess. And the big sis, she is like the best big sister that they could ever have asked for. And so I tell you this story because I believe it's a story of inspiration. And I actually published a book about this story, not only to leave a legacy for my kids, but also to show how they persevered. And I hope that one day it will give that little ounce of hope and strength that I looked for when I was at their bedsides to maybe another mom or another father who's going through the same situation, or anybody who's going through a traumatic situation. And hopefully this story will impact others somehow in a positive way. Thank you.